We're going from 8:30 to 9:30, so we have an hour. Ms. Lindsay and I have just a couple short announcements and some updates, and then we will open up to questions. I have three things. First, just thank you all for coming. We very much appreciate it and welcome all the feedback that we're getting. It's very important to us. Open lines of communication is absolutely essential. Knowing what is working, knowing what is not working is really important, and we take your concerns very, very seriously. So we very much appreciate it. So I have just two things, and then Ms. Lindsay has two things. One is the building update. We put out a Mr. Finkel, our fantastic communications director, put out a asked for some feedback. You know, what concerns that you had, some kind of new before we came. The building situation came up, and I have nothing to say. That's going to change. I know. It's going to change. So then.
Yeah, till June. All right, good. Thank you. She said we've got till June.
We'll
see we keep on that.
There is lots and lots. You know, it's the same thing I've said time and time again. There truly is lots of work being done. Tremendous amount of work being done. It's kind of amazing, but I can't really say anything other than that. And as soon as we do have more information to share, it will be shared. So I appreciate your patience with that, absolutely. The second issue, just wanted to give a little update, is on school safety after the the tragedy in Florida. We had already established a kind of an update with the Marlboro Police Department with our ALICE procedures. It just so happened that we met with them shortly after the tragedy. So we met with the Marlboro Police Department. We have the Marlboro Police Department coming today to work with our teachers after school, kind of refreshing everybody on the protocol. And then the last week in April before the break, the police department will be working with students at grade level meetings to go over the ALICE protocol as well. We have a safety officer in our school, and yesterday we toured the building. We looked at some things that we want to work on and improve to make AMSA and keep AMSA as safe as possible for our students. And of all the things that we do, that's really the most important thing that we do. So it's front and center on our minds. It's something that we're very much thinking about.
I'm just going to add a couple things on safety before I hit my two things. A couple of the things that we've talked about, as many of you know, oftentimes our students get the door codes, right? Sometimes from clubs or coaches or whatever. We're really trying to tighten that up. We've changed all the codes again. Students are not supposed to have the codes. So if your student comes home and says, "Oh, I know the code," just let us know. We'll change it again, and change it again, and change it again. Because no one should have those codes except for the adults in the building. If the kids are ever here and they need to, they've missed the door and they're coming from, they just have to go to the main doors, right? The main door in the upper school and the lower school. So I think it's this side door here that they're using coming from Four Kicks. So we want to just make sure that, we know who has the door codes. So if you hear that, let us know. The other thing is
what time is the main door closed? My kid always forget his books and stuff. I have to always bring him back. So I just want to know. So if it's after a certain time we can't get back in to get his stuff, then we won't come back.
Right. It often depends upon who's here in the building until what time. So if it's the upper school, or even if it isn't, and you see my light on, just knock on the door, buzz, knock on my window.
I'm sorry, where is your office?
My office is in the upper school. When the light's on at night, you can see what I'm looking at on the computer. I mean, it's just, you can see me right in there.
Okay.
And I never mind letting people in. The receptionists officially leave at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
But there's people here all hours, honestly. It's just who's going to hear that buzzer. But we often have front office people in both buildings that are here much later than that.
Okay.
I just can't say to you, yes, we're here every night till 7, because maybe I've got a dentist appointment and I'm not. But otherwise, there's usually somebody here. Okay, so also, we would like you to be patient and understanding as we implement new sign-in procedures and things like that. We're working on that. Potentially some type of a system where it would ask for your license or an ID when you come in. It would take a shot picture of it and print you out a name tag with your picture on it. That would stick on there instead of the police felt that the lanyards, it's too easy to walk away with the lanyard and hold on to it, but that we need the stickers, and we'd like to take it maybe one step forward and go with the ones with the pictures on it. So so we're looking very closely at our security and what we can do to tighten things up. So just as we're able to implement those things, purchase systems and things. The kids have stickers on their cars, adults don't have stickers on the cars, so we're looking at those things like that too. So we'll let you know as we purchase things and roll out a new process.
Ms. Lindsay, I just have a quick question. What about the after-school programs? Because like even the acapella student run, who's looking after that situation when,
Acapella student run, but Miss Bowen should be here with them.
Okay, so there is always an adult there,
Mhm.
just in case that there's something happens that in the after school because we're still in the same building.
Yeah, each of one of the clubs has an adult advisor, and if the adult advisor can't be there for some reason, they either find like a friend that is willing to, supervise their club for them for that afternoon, or they need to cancel. There should always be an adult with the kids within the vicinity. I know some of them are working on robotics and they're in hallways and stuff, but there should be an adult connected to it.
Has there ever been a official threat assessment done on this school?
By official threat assessment, we've had the local police in to come in and talk to us about what we should improve or what they recommend. Yes.
So when was that conducted and what steps have you taken to change?
The Friday after February vacation and all the steps that I just told you.
Okay, because from my perspective, just as a parent, dropping off my child, 2 weeks ago, before the break, it was nice. Remember, it was like a warm day. So when I'm driving in the rear of the parking lot, and I know you have people stationed at the doors and, you have that assessed. If you looked at the building coming around the bend, every window on ground level was open, flipped open. So what was to stop somebody that wanted to create a problem from either climbing in through the window, throwing a backpack in the window, and then retrieving the backpack at some later time?
Are you referring to this first lower school here?
Correct.
And when you say first floor, were you talking about
So you would come
if
up
you're
like
between the two buildings, so it's
coming up between the two buildings, going
Okay.
up the hill. As soon as you crack the hill, it looks to me like a set of, I don't know if they're
They're
classrooms.
computer labs, actually.
Well, I
and they
don't know
get
what
hot.
they are, but they're open.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that's a porous area. And why are we leaving windows open so that people can climb in? It doesn't matter if you go to the front door and check in. To me, that's a wide open area. And my other question is, in this threat assessment, do we have a resource officer or an armed resource officer? And if not, are we going to get one? And number two, what do you see going forward? I mean, we're stuck with these buildings that we're in now, but what are you going to do to, I would say, harden our school going forward? I mean, we can't reinvent the wheel here because we're not going to, we hope not to be.
Those are all really good points. At our last community council meeting where we meet with a lot of parents and administrators and teachers, lots of ideas came up about resource officers, about metal detectors, about having 2 entrance points or 2 doors in order to get into the school. And those are all excellent ideas and good points. There are pros and cons to all of the issues raised. Cost is certainly a factor. So too is the balance that we want to strike on our campus between being open and having a kind of a culture of openness and community versus a culture, and both are, I'm not saying which one is more important, but both I think very important, and a culture that's very tight, very structured, very controlled, with perhaps a resource officer, perhaps an off-duty police officer or whatnot, with security gates or a scanner as people walk in. It's kind of a difficult balance between those two. The police department reiterated to us the most important concern for us is the access points, which I think is what you're getting at when it comes to the windows. The access points are really the key points. So we are looking at how we tighten up our access points and our doors, and how we make sure that those doors are always controlled. That's really kind of the starting point.
The computer labs are interesting for those windows. I've taught in those classes. They do get hot, but maybe it's putting in special air conditioning units in those rooms. We have them in the upper school, but you can't open those windows. They're office like these. But maybe investing in some additional air conditioning units that can be used year round if it did get hot. So therefore, those windows wouldn't be open. So I appreciate you bringing that up in particular, because that's not something that when they walked around to a safety walk and it's 30 degrees out, you don't even think about that. But you saw the windows open. So I think there's some things that we can do around that for sure.
I mean, I know what the Alice, is the premise of it. But from a standpoint of security, once the security is breached,
Yep.
In the lower school, my daughter is in an ELA class that's surrounded by glass. So jumping under a desk, hiding behind a chair is like fish being targeted in a fishbowl. So that classroom alone is not even remotely protected. So if I was a person that wanted to do harm, where would I go? The first place I would go is to Ms. Sheehan's ELA class and just fire off 20 rockets right there, because there's no bulletproof glass. There's nothing. It's a fishbowl. So when I look around as a parent, just simple little things, to me, I see really big problems everywhere around.
Yeah.
And there's no security. There's nobody there to stop the threat other than the front office people and administration or teachers walking around. But it's too late. It's too late. If Ms. Sheehan standing in class and sees an AK-15 pointed at her, it's too late. She's done. And 30 children or whatever that are in the class at that time, it's over.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. To me, it's scary.
it is scary.
Sure it is.
Absolutely is scary, and our keys are our access points and making sure that our access points are controlled. Another really important key is making sure folks are familiar with ALICE training, which we're doing, and working very closely with the Marlborough Police Department, because they're the experts. I'm not an expert in this. We have a good relationship with the Marlborough Police Department, and when they come and they tell us this is what you need to do, we take that very, very seriously, because they know what they're doing. And we hope and trust that if we can do these things that we're talking about, work with our Marlborough Police Department and make sure everyone's trained on ALICE, and create a culture in our school where everybody is valued and everybody's cared for and respected, that tragedies such as happened in Florida would never ever happen at our school. But we're always,
That said, I will look at all the windows. Some of them have lines on them that the teachers can pull, and some of them have taken posters and filled up the windows. But I can look at each one and see where there's places that we need to make that not quite so open and visible.
there was two more
yeah,
updates.
yeah, and then we can go back to questions. Okay, so on a lighter subject, let's talk about snow. You know, no more snow days. It's hard. I kept saying over and over and over again through January and February, if we can just get till March 1st, just
be
get till March
fine.
1st, and just know we're gonna be fine.
March is when the snow
We'll be
happens.
fine.
Yeah.
March is when the spring snow.
I was like a broken record. Actually, they say statistically speaking, after February 1st, the probability goes down. But obviously,
Not in New
I'm wrong. So, all right. So this is what we're thinking, and this is what you're going to hear. We met about this morning. We looked at everything. Looks like the worst of the snow is coming at late afternoon, evening on Wednesday. So we're thinking about a noon dismissal on Wednesday. Now, this is all pending on, you know, Kevin Lemanowitz could just shift his little thing a little bit, and we're all, he's one of the guys, for anyone who doesn't know him. But, you know, we
Winter morning for 7 a.m.
it is, but there'll be some light dusting snow, but if you feel safer keeping your kids home, that's your option, that's a family decision. But we're gonna try to do our best to have a half a day on Wednesday. Now, the snow then is really going to heat up and it's going to go, you know, through the night. If by any chance we can get this place cleared out and ready to come in for noon on Thursday, that would give us another half a day, and it wouldn't extend our school year, right? 'Cause we know parents have
Noon,
vacation.
2 noon.
So do a backwards half day.
Noon,
Right.
this is the 12-12-12
Yeah.
plan.
This is Ellen and Anders thinking out of the box here. Okay, so noon and noon. But if Marlboro cancels school on Thursday, which is a possibility, they didn't rack up as many days as we did, and they cancel on Thursday, then we're going to do a noon release on Friday and have whoever can come in on Friday, because we know that it was a full-day professional development day. Have whoever can come in on Friday for a half a day, give the half a day for PD for teachers in the afternoon, but have as many kids here as we can on Friday, open up, so that it then becomes another school day and we don't have to go either 1 or 2 days into the next week.
So if Marlboro
I know a lot
cancels,
of
you have no
people
choice.
that-
If
You have to
Marlboro
follow the
cancels,
buses.
we have no choice.
Yeah.
So if they close on Friday, which is what we think could happen, if they close on Friday, then we're cooked.
On Thursday?
On Thursday, so
Yeah.
we're
Thursday,
cooked,
yes.
and we'll go into Friday.
So we'll send out this message, Mr. Finkel will send out this message today,
Yeah.
before 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
The 12-12-12 plan.
But
Well.
Friday could be a long weekend for some family, they might have made plans.
And then,
And then-
and then they're absent, and it's okay.
How long ago did you
And
know
maybe we
about
call it
I
excused
just
all the
found
way
out they didn't
3
have
days.
school on Monday.
I know
Was that
Hudson,
because-
Hudson did that in January when they had finals and they got hit with snow days. They took one of their days that was not supposed to be off and made it that was supposed to be off or something and made it a half day. They like delayed it a week, so.
It's not ideal, but.
Right.
We know we've got families that are leaving that last week in June for vacation. We've got staff members that are leaving that last week of June. And so we're really doing everything that we can not to have to turn that weekend, right? And have to. And the other thing we know is that the PTO, the last day of school is the PTO field day, right? And if we make that the Monday after vacation, kids aren't going to come in, and the PTO's put so much work and time and money into this, and it would be so disappointing if that was a bust. So we're doing whatever we can to prevent that from happening. But it's subject to change, so just know that when you get that notice, it's all going to depend, you know, on if Marlboro cancels for tomorrow, straight up, we're stuck. But that's our dream. 12-12-12.
Isn't it stuff that it's on the April, is there an April break?
Yes.
Is it making it up a day on the April break-in option, or is that not?
Can't, because some people are gonna do the same, right?
Yeah, you got your kids, you know, and
You rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah. I'll be in Bermuda. I'll be on
I was
a
gonna
cruise
say,
ship
I
to
just
Bermuda,
my
so-
vacation.
Yeah, somebody, and we've got, the Rome trip going, and the Japan trip, and all those things, so that
Well,
certainly.
the teachers are already planning to be here on Friday, right?
They were already gonna be here on Friday. Some of them they were doing field trips. I know we were doing a field trip, but
Can we move it
sacrifices, right? We just shift it
Yeah.
around, it's okay. It's okay. I'd rather that than extend in June if we can,
Right.
right?
And then there was
Oh, yeah, one last thing. All I can think about is the snow. I'm obsessed. All right, and the other thing is, based on all the communication and all the feedback that we've gotten from everyone all year long. We've put together a communications task force, and it's being led by our Dean of Students, James Fryer from the upper school. Very efficient and thorough he is, certainly his strengths. We put together a group of teachers from each department that will be working with him to come up with a best practices for all communication with home. This includes any kind of phone calls from teachers, emails from teachers, when do those things get triggered, under what situations, also posting of assignments on Plus Portal, and grades on Plus Portal. So what we're doing is putting together a task force of people, discuss all those issues. They have, kind of essential guiding questions to look at so that we can get a nice protocol that we can all agree on out to, families so that you're aware of what we're doing and so that everyone across the board in the school knows what the expectations are around all those things. So we have definitely heard you. We've tried to kind of put things together as best as we could, but I think what this really calls for is a plan across the board with everybody's input on what's the best way to handle all this, so we're all doing the same things.
Yeah, that seems to be the kind of the one recurring thread through the family forums. The feedback that we've gotten is that the level of consistency in posting of homework, communicating with parents, is not where you want it to be or where we want it to be. So we're working really hard to address that, and we're doing it with our teachers and administrators. So we're hoping that if we can get everybody on the same page, and the problem is that not everybody is on the same page in terms of how often you post assignments, how often you post grades, when to communicate with parents. And so we really want to get everybody on the same page and say, we've had lots of administrative change, lots of different policies. It's kind of lost in the ether. So now is a really good opportunity to do that, to establish the goalpost, so to speak, and then to push, convince everybody to move towards those goalposts. So we're going to be working with our teachers, with this team. We're going to be working with our department chairs. And it's something that won't be done overnight. I wish we could just press a button and say, terrific communication across the board. It will take a little bit of time to do, but I'm very confident that once we move into the early fall and that we've got this in place and we're going to do some professional development with teachers around communication, that things are going to get much, much better.
Is there an app for Plus Portals?
Yes.
Yeah, there is.
What's
Hang on.
What's it called? Because
I'll
I
tell you.
can't find it.
No, I could find it, but I can't log on. And my son does it very easily.
It's called Parents Plus, Parents Plus.
Parent Plus?
Yeah.
There's another one as well.
And then you just look for Amsterdam Charter School, and then you create a login.
Is that the logo, the purple?
It looks like this.
Okay.
Just one of you have an iPhone
Yeah.
and one of you has.
Oh,
I have an iPhone.
I have an iPhone too.
Oh, okay.
So we'll open it up to, it is 8:55, so we've got 35 minutes for Joe.
May I just have a question and observation? One of the things I've observed, and without going into too much detail, and I've also actually heard some teachers, it's that they not enough training for them on the Plus Portal or Google Classrooms, whichever they're choosing. Like they're just trying to scrape it together and figure it out themselves.
It's been lots of training this year on it.
And I brought it up in I had an IEP meeting, and I said out loud, I said, I just kind of feel like maybe you guys aren't all trained the same or something. Some people use it this way, some people use it that way, and some people are really good at checking and clicking, and other people just put the bare minimum. And coming from an upper management background myself, I know how sometimes things get rolled out and you want people to do it, and you do training, but not everybody goes to the training, or not everybody is invested or is tech savvy or whatever.
Well,
So
tech savviness
getting
is
it across
certainly,
the-
right, tech savviness is certainly, an issue I'm sure that we all deal with. But we did do Plus Portal training. We were in depth, especially with the new people and anyone else who wanted to go in August. And then we did it again, I think, in October, where they had an hour with Padmaja and Lino, who are two of our top CS teachers. And we have, mentoring program for new teachers that would be able to get further training. So I would say that, we can certainly reiterate to teachers that we have resources. So if they're still struggling with it, we'd be happy to do more. But we did another one that was just Google Classroom training. So that we put a lot of hours into that. If you were at a special education meeting, I'm almost wondering if it was more about, they were referring to EastBed, which is a whole different system.
No, thank God.
Okay.
That's another whole thing. But
Okay.
actually, they do all right. My experience with that has been pretty good.
They've got new training on
Yeah,
that, 2 new
has actually
sessions.
been pretty good.
Yeah.
But no, it was just kind of like there was an agreement in the room. The training, and again, I know it could be their own initiative because they just, I want to go do another thing or whatever.
Yep.
But it's just really, to me, it has been evident this year in my experience, just the different levels from A to
Different,
Z,
yeah.
who can do what,
Yep.
and make it really optimize the
Yes.
tools
Yes,
that they
right.
have, so.
Yep. We'll try to
Yeah.
tease that out. Over here and then over here and then we'll go over here.
I had two things I want to talk about. One in terms of parent communication. One thing I would like to see would be more consistent, maybe better ways of notifying parents of upcoming exams or tests. One of the things I'm struggling with my daughter with is I'm trying to help her develop good study habits and things like reviewing material before an exam and things like that. And a lot of times I don't find out that she has a test. I don't know if she has a test, so I don't really know when these things are coming.
That's part of the task force.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so that would be something I would really like to see. I think that would help me a lot because then I could say, okay, you got a test coming up next Thursday or whatever, in 2 days.
Yeah, and
that's
it's a really good example of a best practice. Some of our teachers,
Some of them do it. And I
yeah,
love
so
that,
some
but it's
teachers have
inconsistent.
planners for a month where you can kind of see, what's upcoming for the following month. That's very helpful as
Yeah.
a
As a
student,
parent, that would
as a
help a lot for
parent
me.
to have that. I know with some classes it's a little more difficult to do that because it's depending upon
How fast?
the branches and the pace, so it makes it a little bit more complicated, but that's certainly something that
Yeah, so
is.
if you keep that in mind. So that was the first one. The second one is,
Okay.
in my daughter's math class, I understand they don't grade the homework. And that causes me a lot of heartburn because my daughter struggles with math.
Is this 7th grade?
8th grade.
8th grade.
And 8th grade algebra and I think geometry too. So basically what happens is she does the homework and they don't turn it in. And she gets 100% on all her homework scores on Plus Portal or whatever, but then she does poorly on the exams. And the trouble is, I have no mechanism for finding out if she's struggling. And I don't think the teacher does either, because they don't grade the homework. And so the only time you get any feedback on a kid that's having trouble is at the exam, or maybe at the quiz. And by then, it's too late, because you're moving on to something else.
Have you asked the teacher to specifically look at her homework and give you
I asked them
feedback?
at the beginning of the year, I said, "But, do you grade the homework?" They say, well, we might do one problem in class after the homework's set.
So I would suggest that you send an email to the teacher and say, this is what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
Would you mind just looking at her homework quickly before she walks out of class and gives us some feedback? So my guess is they probably can go through that, get you some immediate feedback.
I'll send an email. I'm doubtful that I'll get a response, that behavior, but if you say he,
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point. You want to have feedback, you want to know where your student is doing, absolutely. As Ms. Lindsay said, definitely go straight to the teacher and just say, hey, I'm kind of struggling here. My son, daughter, is it your son or? Daughter.
Yeah.
My daughter, I'm a little confused about the direction that she's going, and more feedback would be helpful. And try to set up a meeting with the teacher. I'm sure the teacher would bend over backwards to help you. And Ms. Schmidt is our amazing math department chair, and I know she would absolutely want to help you too.
I mean, I know the other thing I've been struggling with is the other issue they do is they assign some of the problems where the answers are in the back of the book. And, so that's one potential mechanism for my daughter. She'll do the problem and get it wrong or whatever. But then they kind of fudge it, right? Because then they kind of work around it until they get the answer that they're looking for. So it's still not really a good mechanism for detect. It might help her understand that maybe she's not getting it that well, but she's not exactly going to necessarily come forward and say, oh, I'm struggling, whatever. I have no mechanism for finding out, and I don't think the teacher does either, because they're not actually grading it. So that's my problem. I don't
They're
have
often doing problems on the board, and different students are going up, and so I think that they have more hands-on ways to find out in the classroom on how the kids are doing. But I would contact the teacher, see, you set up a meeting. The other thing is a suggestion to your daughter, all the teachers have office hours, and say, you're staying after every week with Mr. So-and-so to work on math for a half hour. We'll be in to pick you up, or twice a month, or whatever you think she needs. But if you feel that she's struggling, then let's set up some things to make sure that you got the supports in place so that get her over the hump. Maybe it's just a hump she needs to get over until her feet are secured again. There's lots of ways to do that.
Well, honestly, I think that you could do that for one child or whatever, but honestly, I think the fundamental problem that maybe you're not hearing me say is there's a lack of feedback that as a parent, I'm not getting, and I don't think the teacher is even getting. The feedback is delayed until the exam occurs. And that's the point I want to make. I think there needs to be need to think about a mechanism that changes that so that you can find out when kids are struggling sooner.
Right.
And grading homework is a great way to do it. Maybe there's other mechanisms, I don't know.
And I think that teachers have different mechanisms and way they do it. Some of them do grade homework every night. Some spot check. So they may grab homework once or twice a week, and then they're checking that way. And some are just saying, okay, this is practice. Get it done. If you have any questions, we do some of the problems on the board. So I've seen all methods in there, and that's why when we talk about individual students, we come up with individual plans to address those issues. If there's something that you want to talk as far as widespread, we need to talk to the teacher and Ms. Schmidt for the department chair. I think there was the mom behind you, and then we went over to this mom over here, and then we can shoot back.
I'd actually like to thank all the teachers. My daughter has had this cold thing, and she's been off school for 3 days, and then she's back to school for a week, and then she's off again. And I've communicated with the teachers, and she's communicated with the teachers, and every one of them have written me back saying, what homework she had or whatever. So that's good to hear. Thank you.
Good to hear. Thank you.
I have two-part questions. One going back to the security. After the Parkland incident, my son and I were sitting there talking because we actually have family down there, and he said, "Mom, anybody can just walk into AMSA. It's in 7th grade." And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "There's receptionists. They have to put you in." He goes, "No, in between classes, everybody just walks in and out of the doors." And I said, "Well, isn't there a teacher or a janitor or an administrator there watching who's coming and going?" And he goes, "Oftentimes not, because I don't move a lot because I'm in lower school, but he sees it in the other schools." So is that true? I don't know if he's at it right, or...
The way that the bells work is that they unlock the doors for that 5 minutes. And so the kids, that's definitely something that's on our minds, and that we're
So they're not manned?
No, there's always the receptionist. The key role of the receptionist is to watch the doors.
And we've done a training with the receptionists to address some of those issues.
That too is also something that could be looked at too, because the receptionist is doing a lot of things at once, and when you have kids moving in and out of the doors, it's definitely easily, you could be, any person could be easily distracted. If you have a phone call, if it's somebody at your desk, and you're also trying to watch the door, so that's something that we definitely need to look at. All the doors are locked between classes, and people have to bring the buzzer to get in. But there definitely are vulnerabilities in the way it is working right now, and those transition times are certainly difficult. And so too is the fact that we are an open campus. We have kids moving between campus. Lots of kids are walking out in the air there.
Well, that brings me to the second part of the security question is, he said, well, shouldn't there be people, grown-ups out there watching because of the upperclassmen and the kid that took a metal water bottle and knocked another kid in the head, clocked another kid in the head. He goes, it's scary.
Yes.
And I said, well, there's limited adults and they all have to get ready for their next class, and so I don't know how to.
We've talked about like a passing monitor, somebody that would be outside and moving about and keeping their eye on things. Once again, it's another personnel hire.
I know, and budgets and all that.
Which is budget, which is difficult. The whole thing is so difficult on so many levels and so heartbreaking everywhere you look. And we've spent a lot of time online looking at what other schools are doing. We've watched all kinds of videos, best practices, schools that have award-winning security systems. And there's schools now that are actually when you go to the bank, you go through the drive-through, and like there's the drawer that the drive-through teller puts in, you put your thing in there and they pull it back, that they're doing that with parents to drop off a lunch. Right? And one of the things that was very important to me when Anders and I came on as the administrators was that we wanted to welcome our families into the school. I don't want a wall between all of you and our kids and our school and our administrators and our teachers. So that's a really tough place to balance, right? Don't want you to have to, you're dropping off a lunch for your child, and for you to have to stand outside and because we're afraid of you. Right? But we live in the world that we live in. So how do we strike a balance where we are still a community who interacts and who there's openness with, but how do we keep everybody safe? And so it's a tough balance, and it's an ongoing question and conversation that we have all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he's my anxious kid. I have 4, and his wheels spin constantly.
Yeah, and
It's a work
this
in
speaks
progress.
to another, what you just said, speaks to another issue, and that's just about the culture of the school. And whenever kids are feeling concerned or upset, we always want them to know that there's always somebody to talk to and to listen to them, whatever they're feeling. There's always somebody at our school to help them. And if we can kind of create that culture and that sense of self-respect, it's not to say that these problems wouldn't come to our school, but it certainly helps. And we certainly want kids to feel emotionally safe, physically safe every single day. And when they're not, there's always somebody that they can talk to. We don't want kids to feel unsafe in any way at our school.
And I did address that with him, and then his brother is starting a campaign that when they have the MCAS, he wants every kid to write on there so all the state administrators can see, help us get guns out of the hands of children or something like that. He wants all the kids to write it on the test so that it goes to the state house.
It would be very sad if that messed up the scoring mechanism.
I told him, I said, you better run that by your teacher first.
Yeah.
But I do want to get back to another situation, because I have the unique perspective of having many kids in one grade. And so typically I take whatever everybody says and I cut it in
Take an
half
average.
and take an average. But the school is great, the education is great, everybody is thriving for my children, I'm very pleased. But the one thing I have heard over and over again is, I don't know how, I mean, I hate to say this because I'm sure my kids are not the perfect either, is that there's many kids that don't show the substitutes respect while they're in the classroom, or even some of the teachers, and they can't get over the back talking that these kids talk. I mean, it's horrifying for me because I can't imagine, how much these teachers have to do, and then to have to deal with a child, well, everybody else is there trying to learn, and then they have, you know, kids, no, I'm not doing my homework, no, I don't want to take a test, no, you know, whatever. Are
So
there
we're aware
people
of that.
dropping in and monitoring
Oh, yeah.
and removing these children and helping these teachers, or especially the subs? I mean, it just sounds like the substitutes have such a difficult experience in 7th grade particularly.
We've actually we had a big meeting with all the kids by grade level to discuss this substitute situation in and of itself. So yes, definitely. What the kids don't see is that our referral system is electronic. So anytime there's an issue of disrespect in the classroom, the teachers then put it into the electronically, and it goes to the deans of students. Then the deans follow up on it. So those types of things are always referred, and they're in a referral, and they stay, you know, in the system, and it escalates. So, you know, depending upon if it's the first time it's happened or 3 times it happens, and the parents get called, and there's detentions or a Saturday detention, and if it gets to a point where, you know, it escalates, we can go further than that. So the kids don't always see that, because if something really gets out of hand, the teacher can call or text the dean right away, and they would come right into the classroom, or they call Kathy at the front desk, or Sandy at the front desk at the other school, and they would be sent right away. They all have walkie-talkies.
Yeah, my kids have told me that they removed 4 kids just last week or earlier this week. I can't remember.
Yeah,
what
it depends
so.
on how immediate it is, or it's sent through the electronic email system. But
So I guess I'm just wondering if, like, the, you know, administration goes and drops in on classes and watches. Oh, okay.
We do. We go into, I visit all the classes, and I know Mike Naraki spends a lot of time jumping into classes, and so we do random visits all throughout the year. Yeah, it was here, and then I think back to this mom over here.
So we talked about security, and that's definitely an element of what happened in Florida. But there's a mental health issue as well, obviously. I mean, someone's picking up a gun and killing many people at once. So I guess I'd just like to know 2 things. One is, what is your approach to assessing mental health of the children in your school? And secondly, how have you communicated with the students in the school about communicating back to you about where they observe a mental health issue with a child?
Well, we added another school counselor into the middle school this year. So we have a school counselor in grade 6, 7, 8, 9, and then in 10, 11, and 12, it's set up by alphabet so that they can help kids with the college and career as they go up. And so those, you know, it's really great. This is the first year we've had a 6th grade counselor and a 7th grade counselor, and they'll loop. So as we develop those relationships, that's going to be so important, right? That 6th grade counselor will loop up to the 7th grade so that they'll have time to get to know the student better, and be able to do a better job assessing how the kids are doing. There are some assessment tools that the counselors do use when we feel that there's a student at risk. We have an SST process that any teacher, parent can refer their child to SST to go through a full team assessment if we feel that there's somebody at risk. Students can always go talk to the counselors or to our deans if they are concerned about someone in particular, and they do. Was it Ann, did you send us out the app for the anonymous reports? So we're looking at an app right now that could be given out to the kids that they could make anonymous reports, because we know that a lot of it that we hear oftentimes is people, I don't want to be the snitch, I don't want to tell, I don't want to rat them out or whatever. And so in an anonymous system where they would go in and they could put in an anonymous report about something they're concerned about. Speaking of which, okay.
Yeah, I would also say just very broadly to kind of address your point too, and your point is that we're a school of very high expectations. We're an academic school with a very strong curriculum, but I believe fundamentally that that academic need goes hand in hand with an emotional need of our kids, and that you can't just have the academics and the curriculum and the high expectations unless you are tending to the emotional needs of a student. In fact, I would say, and I've always thought so in my own classrooms, that the emotional needs of the student actually have to come first, because if the student is not feeling well and respected and cared for and safe, they're not going to learn. And we have to make sure that all of our students feel that. We just had a group of teachers and administrators write up a list of recommendations for us that address the whole needs of the child at our school, things that we could do, suggestions that we could do to improve how we address the needs of all of our kids emotionally. So that's something that we're looking at for next year, for the rest of this year as well. And then, what's your name?
Me, Maureen.
Maureen. In terms of emotional needs and behavior too, I don't know if anybody here has participated in the strategic planning process where we're trying to work out some of our core values and core goals, but I think it speaks to both of the points that you raised. Over 12, 13 years at AMSA, we've had different sets of values, and if you walk into any student's, any teacher's classroom, you'll see, the 3 A's or the 6 C's or the 5 B's or whatever. And the goal of this process, the strategic planning process, is to produce what are our core values that kind of highlight and define what's in our charter. It could be excellence, integrity, respect, whatever comes out of it. And the goal there is to produce those values that speak to the expectations that we have of our students, that when you have a substitute in the class, that's actually a chance to do even better than you might with a normal teacher, because you know that you can get away with, or you think you can get away with a few things. So show what kind of character you really have by helping that substitute teacher. That's what we expect at AMSA. We also expect that our students feel safe, that they feel that they can talk to anybody, that there's always a safe place to go at our school. Those are the kind of values that we're looking for at our school. So on a very high level and on a operational level, we really, that's absolutely a core issue, and that's absolutely a core issue as well too.
One of the other things that we're looking at, we had a parent come and offer us a free app for administrators' phones that basically has a panic button on it. It has 5 different categories, and actually a 6th, so if a teacher needed assistance just in the classroom, and it sets up GPS locations and things like that of where things are happening. So that's something that we just had a presentation on last week that I think would be really cool. And it hooks you right up into 911 and then sends email alerts to everyone on that team that would need to be notified. So for example, the nurse needs to call 911 for an allergic reaction. So she pushes the button, she get a call, goes through 911, but then there's a team of administrators who automatically get alerted through text messaging that the nurse has called 911, and then it will text us again when the ambulance arrives, and it texts us again when the ambulance goes. So, so there's some other things that we're looking at, and that would probably be something we can implement this summer.
Yeah, I mean, just feedback on what you said about the app for the kids. I think that's a great idea. And just, I know you're saying they can come anytime and talk to us, but actually telling them and having a meeting with them and saying, you are a resource, you're the ones who know what's going on in the school. We observe things in the classroom, we observe things in the hallway, but you know more. Because in those incidents where people were shot to death, the kids knew who the problem kid was. They knew it beforehand. So I just think that's a really important resource. And they reported it, but I don't expect you not to react if you get the report. I just think you need to encourage them to report.
Right.
Can I ask, when we talk about money for an armed security officer, ex-cop, greeting people, being there, what does that cost? Have you looked at the cost of that, having somebody on board?
We've thought about the cost, not necessarily having an armed guard here at the school, but a passing monitor, an assistant dean type position, somebody that was always moving, that was always in the halls, that was always outside when students were passing. So an adult presence that would be their main focus. Would be to be monitoring all that open space, and we've got an idea in our minds what that would be. But actually having like someone, I don't know what that would cost.
this morning, actually, I mean, you're talking about all these things that happen in their split seconds when
Yeah.
people come in. So for instance, this morning, so I came into the pancake table and I saw you in the hallway. But it was quick, Sandy, who's at the front desk of the office, she was busy. She didn't see me
Yes,
come
right.
in. I actually went to her just to clarify that it was in the upper school.
Right.
I couldn't remember if it was upper school or lower school. But she was definitely busy, and said had it not been me, it easily could
Right.
have just come in, the door was open, and gone downstairs
Right.
with nobody saying anything at all. That's the first thing I
Yeah.
thought when I came in. I'm like, oh, this is a little.
We know that
sketchy.
culturally, we haven't got into a habit yet of questioning people who are on campus, right? And so that's part of having the new sticker system and training the kids and the adults that if you see someone that you don't recognize and they don't have a sticker, you say, "Can I help you?
Yeah.
You know, where are you going? You know, where can I help you find whatever?" But train people to approach people and say, "Hey, welcome to AMSA. Can I help you find something?" So that you automatically get questioned. But that, that's a.
So just to tack on this map, that's a good point. Is the receptionist always busy with many duties? I mean, if they're at a checkpoint, like near the nurse office or somewhere there, all the
Upstairs.
vehicles may have to park down that way. So whoever wants to enter the campus, check at that security checkpoint first. Or maybe move the receptionist down there, I don't know. Just an idea.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
some
keep
thoughts of
checking.
actually locking
Yeah.
that nurse's door and having everyone come in front. We thought that would be a nice solution because it
Right.
bypasses, it makes it easier for parents to come pick up a sick child.
Right.
But that was one thing that was pointed out.
Because
to us.
I feel good to drive through the campus to pick up my kids sometimes, but I feel like I don't think I should be in the middle of the campus. I should be here. Kids are walking across. This is their space. I shouldn't be here, or any adults not working here shouldn't be in here. That's my feeling every time I come. So maybe that would be a good point to add a security there.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Can I just say something? If anyone wanted to do harm to this school, they're gonna find a way to get in, no matter what. And they could just stay outside and shoot all the kids that are going from building to building. I think it's more of a mental health.
I agree.
Getting everyone else involved and figuring out who's the troubled kids and helping them. Be their friends so they don't want to kill everybody.
Yeah, it's right. It's
Well, seriously,
multi-pronged. I'm
Yeah.
trying to pull in some
Yeah.
facts we haven't heard from.
I
We'll go
think there
back
are
table and then-
things that we can do to
I mean,
do better.
An update on the new building or anything? I missed the.
Oh, you
Oh,
came in a little
missed
bit
the
late.
first- we had a big update.
Not.
The update was they have no update.
No, yes.
Tell him when he does that, he gets everyone all excited, and then he says no, and everyone's like, oh.
Yeah, it was the same story you've heard from me before. No
It's
update.
only 3.5 months till the end of the year.
I think you can expect to be here next year. I mean, I was-
Really?
Sure, even best case scenario, some change happens, you've gotta redo something. I mean, it's never gonna happen in a period of months. There's no way in the world. So if that's helpful at all, I mean, just like, deep breath. We're not going anywhere right in the moment.
Oh.
I think that this mom over here, then this mom over here.
I think everyone has concerns here about the school safety. We all realize there's a multitude of issues, a multitude of failures in Florida, places, whatever. I think it'd be best if we had another meeting just on that with parents and open it up and see what other people think, not just us. But I have a different question. I have a question relative to the protest walkout that's going to occur on the 14th. My question is, when my daughter came to me and said, I'm scared not to march in this protest because people will feel that I'm not part of the group. And I said, well, didn't they explain to you what the group is entailed, what the protest is all about? And the flip side of that, what it would mean to stay in the classroom. Not stay in the classroom, but the opposition point of view relative to what they're marching for. Who sponsors the march? What is the premise of the march? And she said no. So I looked it up myself and gave her the tools basically to look into it. And she came back to me and said, well, the march is put on by the Women's March, which is empowering the children's, youth children, and pretty much everything that their premise is, they give them a toolkit to resist. They go against authority. They want to demilitarize police. They give a packet. If you're an administrator and you don't follow, they allow them to do this protest, how we can get around you as an administrator. So that was that portion of it. On the other side of the view, I would call the point of view, is if you're someone that believes in doing a moment of silence with 17 people that were basically killed in a gunfight, what is the other point of view, which is the Second Amendment, and everything that goes along with that, and free speech. And no one's saying we shouldn't have free speech and that they shouldn't be allowed to. I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to do their protest, but what I'm saying is that my daughter is in the 7th grade and she's not been presented with both sides of the issue. Me as a parent, I've not been given either side of the issue, and I think it would be good if people knew. If my child is marching, this is who's sponsoring the march, ultimately who's doing these protests countrywide versus the other side of the issue. And they're not getting the information. Why is it they're not getting the information?
So if I could
It's a civics
kind of,
class. Why aren't we teaching our kids civics? I don't understand.
yeah, we do teach civics. It's an elective in the high school. We also teach civics throughout our history curriculum. Your point's very well taken. I can just try to explain a bit of the process that we've gone through leading up to the 14th. Our student leaders, student body president, student body vice president, and treasurer, came to us shortly after the tragedy in Florida and informed us that they're going to be walking out of classrooms. They did so very, very respectfully, very kindly, but they said, several of them looked me in the eye and they said, Dr. Lewis, we like you, but it doesn't make a difference what you do, what you say, or what consequences you give to us. We're walking out. So,
Very respectful.
very
We've met them
respectful.
4 times.
Very respectful.
since
We've
then.
been working very closely with them. We've talked to them, and so as administrators, we are then. They are telling us what they're going to do. So we have a choice, and our choice is the most immediate choice that we have. The immediate thing that we have to deal with is the fact that they are going to walk out. We don't know how many students will walk out. It could be 20, it could be 300. So our immediate concern then is to say, well, we have to make sure that whatever the kids are doing, it is orderly and they are safe. So the way we have addressed that is to say that, okay, you're going to walk out, we'll make it orderly, we'll make it safe, we will give you a place you can go where you are safe and the process is orderly, and our teachers know about it in advance so that the day-to-day operations of the school are not upset. The second question that comes up is, what are the consequences? Do we punish students for this? As administrators, we decided that because of the emotional weight of this, the way that our students are feeling, and you know, this is our student government who's come to us. Everyone is very emotional about it. This is a very difficult issue to confront. we believe that the best way for us to build a close connection with our students is to say, no, we're not going to punish you if you wish to take those 17 minutes to walk out, to express how you're feeling about what has happened. They feel powerless, they feel nobody listens, they feel politicians are doing nothing about it, no one is listening to them. So we didn't want to add to that, so we said we're not going to punish you. The third issue which you raise is the politics of it, and that is a very difficult topic. We don't want any one student to feel in any way that they're not listened to, or that their political opinions are not cared for, or that this walkout is a demonstration against type of policy, or against a political organization, against a politician. That's not what we want at all. What we've urged our student leaders to do is to use those 17 minutes to, well, I should say before we talk about what we want our students to do, is that Miss Lindsay and I are completely, we're not going to speak, we're not going to say anything. We've tried to be as neutral as we can in that announcement that we put out. But we've urged the students who will be speaking, the student president and the vice president, to take those 17 minutes and to have a message that is a message of condolence, a message of remembrance for the victims of the tragedy.
But that's not what the...
No, we understand that there's a conflict
and that's where we're
between...
deviating
Right.
off.
That's not
So
what the,
we
what
want-
the website
No.
tells you. They
Right.
tell,
Well,
they're
don't go by the
ordering
website,
students,
don't
it's a different
go
thing.
by what happens at AMSA.
Right,
Because
it's
we've
what we're
worked
doing.
very, very closely with our student leaders.
Yeah.
And they're working very closely with us. And we just met today with them.
We
Just-
met
and we
4 or
just
5
talked
times.
about that one issue. We said this is a real amazing opportunity for students to show civic responsibility, civic leadership, to show the lessons that hopefully they're learning in history classes about how to engage others, how to work as a community, and how to bring us all together. The world outside of AMSA is finding this very difficult, finding it's an issue that is dividing Americans, which it is. Our nation is very divided. We've asked the kids, and we've told them that this is an opportunity for all of us to come together. Whatever one's political opinions are about the Second Amendment, or the NRA, or Donald Trump, or whatever, this is an opportunity for all of us to show that at AMSA we don't support violence, we condone the loss of life, and we can come together on that.
But I mean, I don't want to waste people's time, but basically, I agree with what you're saying. It's a great opportunity to warn the people that lost their lives and all that. But even though they're deviating from the script, it's a script.
They're not even listening to the script.
But
We
what I'm
spoke
saying
with
is,
them this
but
morning. They're not
still
following
part-
that
but they're
script.
still
There's no script that they're
participating-
following.
But they're still participating at that
Yeah.
particular time, 10 a.m., where every other person is doing it at the same time. So there still is technically a thread that binds it all together. And I'm all for free speech, and I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is that some of the other students that don't know what the other side of the coin is, neither side has been explained to them.
Because it's a student-run event, and if
But as an
a-
administration, I think that something should have gone out.
we sent them out to
saying-
parents. There was an email that got
Right,
sent out to
and it says
parents.
it's apolitical, but it doesn't explain who,
Well-
where did it come from? Like, who's running the
The
march?
student government,
Which is,
the student.
no, I'm talking about, it comes from the Women's March, which is empowering the Children's March, which is giving them a forum and a set of things to abide by in response. If you go, anyone wants to go on and read it, you can see it.
But it sounds like AMSA is doing something that is AMSA, like 10
It's
to
organic.
1017.
It's-
That's
it's
probably not exactly what's happening everywhere else. It's like, we're
We-
trying to be neutral and give them a forum,
Right.
but within our
But they're
own
not, but
guidelines.
they're getting stigmatized, I guess is the
Yeah, there's
saying,
there's
because
definitely
it's
the
part of the
association with
empower-
the larger
Right.
and the political,
Right.
and I
And
appreciate that.
some students
I
are
actually
saying
spoke
they
with.
don't want to do it.
Yes,
because
I-
they're saying
And they don't
Right.
need to, the teachers will
Right.
remain in the classroom.
But I
And-
get that, but what I'm saying is they weren't informed all around as a student that said, okay, this is the group that's sponsoring this. I know it's a student government, but it's coming from the Empower movement. Go to their website, read what they have to say.
But we're separating
another-
ourselves from that. And in fact, the middle school, what the student government there is talking about is any child who wants to be involved, that they'll be given a silk flower. And they'll put a flower in the basket just as a remembrance. So the kids are really trying to be very thoughtful about a way that they can kind of remember those that lost their lives, and do it in a respectful way. They've been great working with us. I've consulted with the school lawyer. We've followed the direction from the Department of Education here in Massachusetts. We've done a tremendous amount of research. He has read more articles on what every school in the country is doing, and looked at our professional affiliate groups, and looked at what everyone is suggesting on how they're handling this. This is happening, and then we had to think about, okay, so how are we going to respond as an administration? The last thing, once again, that I want to set up is telling those kids that if you do this, if you memorialize these individuals, I'm going to suspend you for 3 days.
Oh, I agree that
We
that's not the
cannot
right
have
way to do it.
that feeling between the administration and our students again. And I really appreciate and respect the fact that they have sat down with us on numerous occasions, emails back and forth, to just express that they want to take this opportunity and this time. And it's student run, which is why there isn't a lot of information coming from us, because we've been advised by our school lawyer that we need to stay neutral as an administration. We've provided this facility here as a safe place because I don't want them out standing in the outside. I don't want any media that potentially might show up and try to talk to them. So it's going to be very quiet. It's going to be a silent, walk. We're not even calling it a march or anything like that. It's a silent communication, just they're walking over to here. They're going to have 4 minutes where the student body president is just going to speak about, the sadness of violence, and they're going to have a moment of silence for each member of the 17 people who passed away, maybe talk about one of the heroes that put their life on the line, and then the students will, at 10:17, will walk silently back to class.
Yeah, is it your son or daughter, you said?
Daughter.
Daughter, yeah. I talked with a student yesterday who is not supportive of what is happening, and she's of a particular political bent, and I don't want any student to feel alienated, or any student to feel that if they don't participate, they are somehow shunned. That's the last thing that we want, and I can assure you that's the last thing the students who are leading it want. And I would encourage you to please ask your daughter if she can come talk to me. I can sit down. I'd love to hear.
I told her to make up her own mind, because that's what I'm here to teach her, to look at both sides. You make the informed opinion. I don't want to steer her in either direction. But I wanted her to have the tools. She needs to have the tools.
Maybe you
to
could let her
make
know
this-
that AMPS is not following
Yeah.
along with that.
The-
Go
So
over
I
here and
think-
then over here and over here.
I think that can be solved by like having a permission slip from the parents, from the family. And some school district, they are just sending, I get email from other school districts too. They're just not talking about it and leave it to the family, the parents to do it with the kid. So it doesn't mean Marlboro have to do it, other school district, but if a permission slip, the kids don't feel like they're ready for it, maybe the parents can step up to say, okay, I'll check no for you, then you give it to your teacher, but you feel like you're ready for it, and then, I'm really support this march, it's really, really great. But if everybody's ready for it, check yes, and then I think my kid is ready to join. I think that will solve the problem and leave it to the parents to decide what they, especially the lower level school, I think the low.
If you object or if your child doesn't want to, just let us know, and then the child can say, my mom said no.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
just send his email.
So,
I
right,
think
and so,
we-
yeah, over here, my only concern is that if these types of emails continue to come from us, it looks like we're
Yeah,
running
we
the event and
want
not running the
our role
event.
is to be as hands-off as
keep
possible,
them
to
safe.
really keep us organic
Keep them
and
safe.
student-driven.
But
I know you've been waiting very patiently.
Over.
No, I'm sorry, your name? Jean.
Oh.
You've been waiting very patiently.
Sorry.
Thank you. So this has been quite a heated meeting. Thank you for all that you're doing proactively, a lot of subjects here. So my question actually sort of touches on everything. My question is, how is the school, or have you, or I apologize, I was a little late, maybe you mentioned it. How is the school communicating to the students as a group? With regards, it's sort of in response to what happened recently in Florida, not specifically to carry on about that meeting, but to say to them, you know, there's some things out in the world that are uncomfortable, there's a lot of different feelings going on, and these are what we're offering as a school for anyone who's not comfortable with that, to start the dialogue. You know, I can see just how heated it is in this room, you know, and kids hear things at home, and then they hear things at schools, and they hear things with peers, but that where they feel like they're a community, and what is the communication with the students? What is the dialogue with them as a group? Has there been a meeting or a forum? I know that you have the ALICE training, which, you know, a lot of them, yeah, we have ALICE training, that's sort of what my son might try to talk about it, but he too, I was wondering if he was emotionally ready with this walkout. You know, there's just a lot, you know, that they're sort of navigating what's normal, what's in the school, what's out of the school, you know, that there's just sort of a base meeting to be like, you know, there's a lot going on. This is what we have, or we're going to re-meet every month, once a month, and have groups or something. You know what I'm saying? As far as them knowing and not being singled out to go find a counselor, or, you know, 10,000 emails later. You know what I mean? Or by the time the parent finds out, what kind of dialogue is going on with the students? You know what I'm saying? Proactive.
I understand what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have grade level meetings in April, and that's when they'll do their ALICE training, and we can talk to them more about it. I know that a lot of our teachers have addressed it, especially through the history classes. I know that lower school dean of students has visited some of the directed studies where students have had questions and answered questions there. Sorry, I feel like all of a sudden I realize I have my back to you. I think that part of the difficulty with that, and I don't know if we really have a handle on that yet, is which teachers feel comfortable having those conversations.
I guess I thought there might be something sort of here that would be like, instead of specifically talking, you know, just think Florida, blah, blah, because that just opened,
Yep.
It's like Pandora's box, to be like, this is sort of like the well-being day.
Yep.
It's like, almost like a regular, you know, it's time for a well-being thing. Remember that we have all these counselors, if you have any concerns, anything from home to anything that might be happening, or, you know.
Yep, we have a
how
community
frequently
meeting
does
on
that
the
happen?
30th. We can do something like that at our community.
Are you
meeting on the
thinking
30th.
of like a monthly kind of?
Yeah, so I guess my question is, since all this tragedy has happened, I guess, in my mind, without opening Pandora's box, I would want my child to have the opportunity, you know, see that the school's doing something to keep that, promoting a dialogue, open dialogue with the
Right.
students as a group. That my son, I would know as a parent that on this date, everybody met and everybody said, no, you have counselors and you have some people.
Right, right.
You know what I mean, to make very generic.
Yep,
To keep
you
it
know,
going.
that's a great suggestion, and I can work that into our community meeting on March 30th for sure. We don't have another community meeting set up prior to that, but we can add that into March 30th.
Our grade level meetings.
That
Grade
just
level meetings are
creates
in
those
April, but-
opportunities
Yes.
for kids who, like my kid, I have to shake them upside down like a salt and pepper shake, you know, to get any information out of them.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So you
Yeah.
kind of know that,
Yep, we'll think of a way to
that
frame
they're not
that.
getting so much from their peers. 'Cause
You've got 12th graders all the way down to 6th graders, so how do you developmentally frame that?
It's 9:45. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 hands. So let's get all 4 hands, and then we'll,
Get back to-
we'll
yeah, we
head,
gotta
head,
get back.
head out. We'll start there.
We'll
and then
sweep
we-
it this way.
Change the topic, but I have a question regarding plus portals. As a parent of 6th grader, who do I go to having technical problems, passwords?
The
things
IT
like that? I have no
department, the
idea.
IT department. So if you
There-
look on the website under the directory,
Okay.
you'll
Is
see
there
that
any specific specific person?
Erica
or-
Petrosky.
It's
Erica.
like, she's doing IXL or something, and.
A joke.
Well, that's a separate website. That's not
Yeah.
on Plus Portal. Yeah.
If you email me, and then I'll
Or look on the website and look
Oh.
under IT,
Yeah.
and Erica and Joe is listed there, either one of them.
Okay, because just as, you know, as we family to the school, I just don't know where to go.
Yeah, if, just email me and just say, hey, we talked at the family forum, you had a question, then I can take your email, copy that, and send it to the people and say, here's a new parent, she needs a
We're
little
not
help.
really new, it's just these new things are coming along with homework online
Yeah.
and she's not being able to get in.
Yeah, they'll help you.
Cool. Yeah.
I just have to say that I had a student that was in, and she's graduated, that was in student government for many years in the prior administrations. And for so many years, she kept telling me that the group, they didn't really have a voice. They couldn't negotiate anything. They tried, I mean, the extent, what they did was they would negotiate things like uniform colors or things like that. You know, they were able to get black pants in addition to stuff like that. But I think that what you've done with student government and listening to them, it's such, I have to applaud you for listening to the students and knowing that there's an additional voice maybe that was not always listened to here at AMSA. And when I saw that email, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like you're listening to the students, you're listening to student government. You know, there are, you know, different sides to this whole issue, and I just know that you found a way to do it kind of neutrally and listening to the kids. And I also have a child that's going to the Washington D.C. trip next week. I mean, it's just so amazing how the timing worked out, and I know that that's a whole different category. But maybe they, like in a safe manner, where all students feel like they have the option to say no or say yes, if they could, you know, maybe take 20 minutes out and participate if they wanted to.
We had
in
a
that
parent,
discussion.
and maybe it was yourself,
me.
okay, that emailed Rob Lusky.
Yes.
And so, you know, I can touch base with Rob. I think we'll be together a lot over the next few days as we start to be looking at bags and things.
Experience, you know,
Hmm,
it's
but-
a huge learning experience. Instead of just sitting in the classroom and listening, you know,
Right.
to things like in history, but here's history actually taking place, and it's at a level that high school students, I'm just talking about high school, not talking about middle
Right,
schoolers.
right.
High school students who are a little more cognizant, maybe, or, you know, are just hearing their voice for the first time and wondering whether or not to jump in or not. You know, I think it's just, it just gets, the learning just goes a lot further when it's down on their level.
I really sincerely appreciate the point that you make. Miss Lindsay and I really want our kids to feel that they're listened to and not just spoken at.
We've got a very good relationship.
We sense the feeling and the emotion in our student leaders, and we really felt that this was a real opportunity, as difficult as this is, and as hard and complicated as it is, that we really wanted to reach out and to show that we are listening to them.
She was before me.
We were going to sweep this one.
Yeah, there's two
So-
more.
Okay, mine was just quick. I guess I am concerned, as every parent in the country is concerned right now, because these shootings keep happening. They are just, there was one, I think 2 weeks, there was one right after Parkland, and it got swept under the rug because of Parkland. So, I'm thinking, you know, as a mother, how I feel. What's been done to address the kids' fears, their anxiety about being safe? So we can talk about here as parents. So, you know, okay, we know we know budgets, right? So a lot of the things that are suggested, you know, you guys are like, that's great, but it's, that's $100,000 for this, and another $100,000 for that. That's not what kids want to hear, though. They're like, you know. So one of the main things that they're talking about is that more important than keeping us safe? It's your budgetary concerns. how do you address that? How do you address, and I hate to say it, but another one's probably gonna happen because issues have not been resolved. So that does a lot for the psyche, in terms of having this continually happen, and then you get the thoughts and prayers. What do we do for kids who have to come in and, you want them to study, you want them to focus. That's eventually going to start affecting their ability to focus.
Or teachers and administrators and
Right.
everyone who works in a school building nowadays.
What is, I guess, on an ongoing, how are you addressing those fears? How does that happen?
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
it's working with the police department, doing
School
our
counselors.
training, tightening up our security, letting our kids know that there's always someone to talk to, working closely with the guidance department, having the teachers work closely with the kids, watching the kids, attending to the day-to-day, every single day needs of each and every child in our school. Every child in our school is important, and having the kids know that. And we don't want any student to suffer silently. We don't want any student to feel emotionally unsafe or unsure. Those are, I would say, less grand policies and more day-to-day practice that we notice each and every child in our school so that they feel safe. And if you know of kids, if anybody here knows of any kid who's not feeling that way, let us know, because we will do everything we can to make sure that they do.
Yeah, I'm also just jumping into my mind is the Dean's Corner. So James Fryer, the Dean of the upper school grades 9 through 12, puts out a weekly email to the kids, and he addresses all these issues. He's addressing everything there from little minor violations to race relations to safety issues. And he's doing it at an age-appropriate level for 9 to 12. But James has done a really good job. He's very frank and very clear with the kids on what his expectations are, but also opening up kind of open dialogue about these issues and how kids are feeling. And he's had a lot of kids come to him and report, the vaping stuff or other things that are happening on campus or how they're feeling about certain students or their concerns and that. So, he's made a lot of inroads using that method.
He's good. My daughter actually, there was an incident in school. I won't say it. She did not want me to handle it. She said, please let us handle it. So the kids handled it and took it to him.
Yeah.
And so all I'm doing is just asking progress through my mouth, and it's hard not to intervene, but they want to handle it themselves.
Yeah, and he's really been able to, especially over the last several months, because he's new still here at AMSA, but he's been able to kind of develop those relationships where the kids are seeking him out. I see them more and more in his office, developing that relationship, and they're letting him know when they see things that are concerning to them. So that's good. If we add in the anonymous app, that's going to be one more step. And
There were, I think, two more or one more.
One more.
Security on the day of the walkout. I know that some teachers, that if there's got one pupil in the class, they're going to still have to stay there.
Yep.
What about the people that are going there? What's the security there?
So all the administrators, including Ann and Sarah and our director of, our athletic director and our deans and vice president, all of us will be out and stationed everywhere, and then in here.
And secondly, you might have noticed I come cleanly. I think overall, America doesn't have security as tight as in people are not educated as much as what we are in England. We've lived with IRA and stuff like that for all our lives, and we've been brought up differently. And I think that's what education is the most, educating children on being safe, feeling safe, and I totally agree with you what you're saying. Even my experience was even after 9/11 happened, I was in an airport and there was suitcases left unattended, and I'm like, we don't do that in England, it's gone, do you know what I mean? So just silly things like that, if they see things, they need to report it and feel safe that they've got to report it.
Right.
That's the main, but I think we need to like keep telling them that all the time. Don't be afraid to say, because they're the people they're your eyes, they're your business eyes. They are really, they know more than what we know as parents. They see what happens every day, whether it's the e-cigarettes or whatever. They know what's happening. We don't. we're outside of work and whatever, they see it every day.
Yep.
So they're the eyes that are open around you. And if they have to feel safe enough to come and tell you. And I know most of the time, like when I went home that day for the e-cigarettes and I said to my daughter, how come you didn't tell me? She goes, I'd be in the dean's office every day. I'd never get on with my work. She knows it's happening.
Yep.
She said, but I'd be in there every day reporting it, Mum. Why, so.
Yeah, we would love for her to report it. We're very involved in the whole vaping situation. We are on top of it. We are starting to catch kids, and it's being dealt with very severely. They cannot have any of those
There's
vaping
big
devices
articles on it
campus.
as well. I mean, I don't know, maybe
Sure.
we should educate our kids a bit more about these articles about it's actually worse than smoking.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It's a chemical, and it's laced with nicotine, some of it, and some of it's THC, and many other things. And it's only going to expand more and more as different companies use this as a delivery device of drugs and whatnot into our children. And it's really a shame, because I really thought this was going to be the generation that was going to walk away from smoking, right? But the tobacco companies can't let them go. So, this is the back way into it. And, as you see more and more vape shops open up, they're only going to be bringing in other products as they become available. So be very, very mindful of those. We just had a Juul kit donated to us. Juuls they look like a flash drive. It's JUUL. So take a look at that on Google. They look like a flash drive, but they're actually a delivery device for the chemicals, and they're like a one-hit wonder. They have the bigger ones that are multiple hits, and they create a big plume of smoke. But these little ones are a one hit. It's a little bit of smoke, and then they blow it up their sleeves so that it doesn't puff. They do it on the bus. They're doing it in the classrooms. And they're doing it all over the country. This is not AMSA specific. It's everywhere.
So what you're saying, why can't a newsletter, like a parent newsletter, go out with all the information that you're getting? Because like I said, we don't know about it. Because we're all at work. They know about it.
Yeah, we'll get that into the newsletter with Mike.
But all the stuff that's coming up that you know of, we would like to be educated on that too.
Yes.
Because that will help us as parents talk to our children
To talk to
about
the kids.
it too.
So, we've told the parents for the DC trip, if your kids bring a flash drive on the DC trip, they don't need a flash drive. Probably not a flash drive. But as I said, when we suspect that there's something going on, and they smell like bubble gum or mango, we've caught a mango one, and they have these sweet smells to them, so the teachers didn't know either, and so we've educated the teachers that if you're walking around class and all of a sudden you smell like a bubble gum smell, or strawberry, or candy, it's the cotton candy.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and so they to alert the deans and let them know. And then, we are well within our legal right to go through their book bags, to go through their school locker, to make them take their shoes off, to check around their waistband. We have two people, obviously, two females or two males that would do that. But make them turn their pockets out, their back pockets, and check to make sure that they don't have anything. And as I said, we are starting to catch them. And so once they start getting caught, then it's gonna spread like wildfire.
But in health, do you actually educate the children about these things anyway? Like, can we have
Health class.
No, I'm talking about as a school. Have everybody come in.
Yeah, we've been talking to the kids about not vaping in all of our grade level meetings since September.
No, but a specialist coming in. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where we can have, like, especially people like the police coming in and talking to them all together.
We
about
haven't. The
safety.
deans have talked to them about it.
Right.
And they've had it in health class, from a health standpoint.
The American Heart Association probably has volunteers or something.
Maybe.
I'm just thinking as like educating everyone as a school rather than just individually.
Well, I think also, I think that you just need to send it out to the parents, because I think at the end of the day, it's our job to educate them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to put it back on you guys. I've got to sit down with my kid and say, and we've had this conversation because I've asked him, and he said he knows some kids that have tried it, but I haven't heard any widespread. But again, it's middle school, so it's probably more prevalent in high school.
It was a
but-
7th grader, 4-day suspension.
We could put them
Pens, it looks like a pen in some of them. So they look different.
Yeah.
You have to go Google images, vaping, go to images, and you're going to see all kinds of stuff.
Just telling us that. If you, in your next email to us, if you could blast that out, because I'm The little flash drive, I'm just hearing that too.
Yeah.
And I've got a college
We're
kid, so I'm
learning.
embarrassed.
Yeah,
I'm just
we're
hearing-
learning right along with you, Minnie. We're
Just
learning.
Google what is Julie and you know.
Well,
about it.
it's 10 o'clock, so we went a little over. We really appreciate all of you coming. We thank you very much. Our school works together, works best when we all work together. So any other thoughts that you had, our doors are always open. We'd love to meet with you one-on-one.